upon his descendants, upon his companions, and upon the righteous throughout the world. And peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, is all the praise due to Allah, the evolver of all systems of knowledge. We are forever thankful to Allah, Hadi Jumuah is He, for allowing us to unite for Jumuah for His glorification and to demonstrate a testament of our faith in Him as we respond to this powerful call, which is called the Adhan. Because in this verse in the Quran where Allah talks about Jumuah, He said that when the call is proclaimed, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of Allah and leave off all business and traffic. Why is that so important? Because business and traffic, those are powerful pulls. See, those are powerful attractions that sometimes people don't know how to disconnect themselves from. So when we hear this call, we understand what is in the call. See, it's really a call for freedom, because as we worship of Allah, that's really what we realize and coming to the awareness of freedom. That call is a liberating call, because inside the call we hear the fact that there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah. We say, Shadu an la ilaha illallah, that is a declaration of not just faith, but freedom. Because Allah can be anything, your possessions, your associations, your money, your job, all of those things can be much more pulling. But in that Shahadatain, it says nothing is worthy of worship. No force, no being, no power, zero, other than Allah. So as we respond to this call, we understand that Allah tells us, and the testament of this call for Jumuah is a sign of our faith, because the call for Jumuah is given to what? Those who believe. Oh, you believe. Yeah, you ladina aminu. This is very, very important. It's a call for the believer who understand the power in giving up, releasing things for the pleasure of Allah, Hadi glorified is He. So we thank Allah for, again, the opportunity to collectively join believers to serve Him and realize the strength in Jumuah. That's what Jumuah literally means, this combination that Allah says He's al-Jami. He's the one that brings the human beings together. So we're happy that we had the strength and the intelligence. See, the intelligence, because to respond to Shahada is not on feelings, because the bear witness means it's through my reasoning. I thought about all that I see. And I said, there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah. I looked at the money, I looked at the possession, I looked at people, I looked at status, and I thought about it. And I came to the conclusion that nothing is worthy of worship other than Allah. See? That's why the Shahada means to witness. The only way you witness is that you looked at something. See, a person who bears witness, they've seen some things. And through life, you've came to the conclusion that everything I've saw. No, that's the less important. So we thank Allah for allowing us to have this power to pull ourselves away from those things that could really have a pull on us. Now, last week we talked about, in the Quran where Allah talked about the verse in the dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanati wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban. Oh my evolver, oh our evolver, give us good in this world and good in the hereafter. And save us from the punishment of the fire. We talked about good and why goodness is so important. In the hadith of Muhammad, the Prophet ﷺ, where he said that Allah is good and only accepts that which is good. See? Allah doesn't accept corruption. I don't care how much money you have and you want to give, Allah is not accepting corruption. He is good and only accepts that which is good. And when we're moved by doing good, we become better human beings. That's why he said he loves the muhsineen. The muhsineen is those who are driven to do good. And as you move to do good, you begin to express more of the goodness that Allah already deposited in your body, because He is good and accepts nothing but good. So if He is good, when He created you, He made you good. And He lets you know He will not accept good, because He wants you to remain on the path of doing good so you can realize your real worth and power. Because He wants you to have power. He says He's Al Hadi. He's the powerful. And if He's the powerful, as His creation, He's giving you power. And as you move on this journey towards life, you begin to realize your power, because power is revealing. That's why we talked about the verse where Allah said, those who, if we establish them with power in the land. See, Allah wants you to have power. If He's all powerful and you serve Him, you must realize that He gave you power. And if you don't really understand how to use that power can be abusive. Because one thing power does, power reveals. See, you'll learn a person. When that person gets power, you'll learn something about them. That's why the verse says, those who, if we establish them, if we give you power, political power, social power, culture power, economic power, financial power, if He establish you in the land with power, they won't lose connection with Him. See, some people get power and say, I'll deal with the law later. That's not important. That's why we talk about those other attractions. So He said, those who, if we establish them in the land with power, they'll stay connected to me. They'll make the salat and they'll pay the zakat. Now, what does the salat do? The salat allows you to connect with the ultimate source of power. That's why you start your day off like that. What better way to start your day than to plug into and connect with the source of power? If anything is connected from the source of power, it loses its power. When you take the plug out of the socket, it has no power. The lights go out, the radio go off, the television, because the source of power, there's a disconnect. So Allah says, those who, if we establish them with power in the land, they won't disconnect with Him. They make the salat, and then they realize they must stay connected with the people. See, when they give the zakat, they're connected with people. They feel the urge and the pain. They empathize with people. We talked about how all of us come into a world, we're born in the world that needs us. See, when Allah created you, gave you power, He gave you destiny, He gave you potential and possibilities, and gave you opportunity, then the world needs that. So you grow into a world, you come into a world that needs you, and you need them. So those who make the salat, they stay connected to Allah, and when they give zakat, they stay connected to people. They have what is called social sensitivities. They feel for people. And once that connection is severed with people, that's why you have all the pain and troubles in the world. Because people will tell you, I'm just going to get mine, you get yours the best way you know how. That I'm really not concerned about your well-being. And I mentioned to you before, Imam Muhammad said that life begins with concern. And the life and death of a people is seen in their concern. And when we begin to lose the concern, you will see the death and the decay all throughout society. Because people just don't care. The Prophet Muhammad, he says of himself, "Anna bashiru mithlakum, Anna bashiru mithlakum," that I am a sensitive, caring human being just like you. That's what bashir. Bashir, this type of human being, is the human being who is responsive. It's just like the skin. And whatever goes on the skin responds to that which is cold, and the skin responds to that which is hot. That is the human being. And the entire mission, 24/7, of Shaitan is to make you lose your sensitivity. And when you lose your sensitivity, you really use your power as a human being. Because you become numb. That's why Allah said they stay connected to Him through the Salat, and they stay connected to people through the Zakat. They have the feelings of love, of empathy, of care, of concern. And when we start to live more in that state of doing good, then we begin to, more of our power begin to unfold. We read all throughout the Quran where Allah says that power belongs to Him. That He is the all-powerful. And if you read the Quran, you see everything is about power. We talk about during Ramadan, Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. See, power is very important. It has everything to do with your destiny. See, He said that He created everything and He gave it a destiny. He gave it power. Everything's had power and purpose for being in existence. So God said that all power belongs to Him. Let's turn to a verse of Quran where Allah talks specifically about power and why it is so significant in terms of us realizing our worth as a human being. Allah doesn't create human beings to be weak. You start off in a weak state. That's why the first verse, or the first way Allah introduced Himself to the world, is not as Allah. He doesn't introduce Himself to the world as the Creator. The first revelation as it pertains to how Allah introduces Himself to the world is the attribute of Rabb. The first revelation, the first 5 verses, inside those verses, it begins with read, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. See, the first introduction, He says He's the Rabb. He's the one who's developing what He created. So He creates you in a weak state as a child, but then over time, He's developing you just like a mother who cares for the child as the child begins to grow, get strength, and begin to mature. So He creates you in a weak state, give you challenges, give you experiences to help you to grow into power and strength. So He's Rabb. That's why we talk about Rabbil Alamin. He's growing you in knowledge. He's the evolver of all the systems of knowledge. And the more knowledge you get, the more powerful you become. That's why the verse in the Quran, it says to Muhammad the Prophet, "Oh, my evolver, advance and increase me in knowledge." Because the more you know, the more effective you be. The less you know, the less effective you be. That's why the whole process of producing a slave was to strip the slave of his knowledge so he could be dependent upon those who know more, and then to keep the slave in a baby state. That's why during slavery, they never called the slave man a man. The male, they never called him a man. Because a man has grown into a certain level of strength, but the slave master always called the slave male a boy, even though he's 50 years old. Call him a boy. Because a boy is really weak in comparison to a man. So psychologically, if you create that, teach that human being that you can't read, you know, you uninformed, I'm stripping you of that which you know, and I'm about to indoctrinate you with the misinformation to make you dependent upon those who know more than you. That's why in the world, knowledge, money flows from those who don't know, and I want you to remember this. Money flows from those who don't know to those who know. See, the one that know and you don't know, to some degree you are at their mercy. That's why it's very important for us to know as much as we can, to do the research as much as we can, so we can understand how things operate. But those who just don't know, They're at the mercy of those who know. And you know, that happens, I hate to say it, but it happens a lot with mechanics. You know that. With the mechanics, see, you don't know. It happens with people that fix things, you just don't know. And they can do it just enough to make it work, but it ain't really gonna work. But you don't know what just took place. That's why it's important for us to become informed. That's why Allah says He's Rabbil Alameen. He's the evolver of all the systems of knowledge. He's developing it. But He said He has the power and He gave you power. Let's read this verse, read a few verses as we move forward with this clip. And we're talking about power and why it is so important. And how power is revealing. That power will reveal who you are. And then there's people in the world who are working to strip you of your power. Now Allah said He gives power and He takes power away. But then there's forces in the society that are working to strip you of your power, to keep you dependent, to keep you weakened. They tried to do it with Muhammad the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You know they tried to do it with Prophet Muhammad? And I want you to remember this here about your power. Your power is in your focus. And when you lose your focus, you lose your power. That's why everything about us is all about direction, about power, focus. When you make your salat, you make your intention, you want to get focused because that's where your power is, because without the focus, there's nothing but distraction. That's why before you make the salat, you recite the Quran, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I want to be focused on this process. Because that's where your power lies. Now when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was growing, when al-Islam was growing, the word was spreading, the power was increasing, the numbers were growing. The opponents, the enemy, who, as Allah said in the Quran, was working to put the light of al-Islam out. They realized that Prophet Muhammad had power. He had the ability with this revelation to influence, because that's what power is. Power is the ability to influence. Muhammad the Prophet began to influence. Lives started to change. People became more aware of how the society was operating. And then it began to challenge the forces in existence. And then when you wake certain people up, and they begin to rise, others come down. So as they became awakened, and the opposers, and the enemies, and the distractors saw what was happening, so Muhammad is assuming too much power. And they told him, tell his uncle, he has to stop this. This is working against what we're doing. He's causing us problems. And the appeal is, tell Muhammad we will give him whatever he wants. If he wants money, he has money. He wants status, whatever kind of woman, he got whatever he wants. He's on a mission. He's on a mission towards destiny. They want to diminish his power in the society to liberate the people, because Allah gave him power. He's the messenger of Allah. He has a mission he's on, and he is destined to fulfill that mission. He's on a path. If he wants status, we give him status. If he wants social power, we give him social power. Tell him if he wants whatever choice of woman, he can have her. If he wants money, we give him whatever he wants. Just stop preaching this message. So you're working to diminish power. Prophet Muhammad's response was to tell them, if they gave me the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left. But you have to just imagine the power of the sun. That's power now. That nothing exists without it. But the picture was, tell them, even if they gave me that and the moon in my left, which is the reflection of that light. that I will not stop this mission until I'm deceased or Allah returns me back in the process. Here's the distraction from the power. You weaken a person with all these distractions. Money, things, people, power, status. But when you understand your power, you understand your focus, you're determined to resist. That's why through that shahada you can say la, you can say no. Because you know there's something more powerful, there's something much more significant as you move on this journey called life towards your destiny. So they're working to strip you of your power every day. So Allah clearly tells us that He is the all-powerful. Let's read this verse. He says He's Al-Qadir. And know that they're working every day to put out the light of Al-Islam. That is the force, the saving force for the world. And we have to believe that. We have to believe that the Quran is the saving force for the world. And when you embrace that and make that a real part of your life, you become powerful. And then as you begin to move with that, know that there are forces working all around you to strip you of your power, to make you less concerned about what really needs to be done, because we have a real job to do. Allah made you powerful. And when you accepted this way of life called Al-Islam, then there's some responsibility. We talked last week about that verse, that quote, the hadith of Muhammad the Prophet about the Quran. خَيْرُكُمْ مِنْ تُعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ, that the best of you is he who learns the Quran. So you got to learn this book. And then you just don't learn it, but then when you learn it, you feel an obligation to teach it to other people. In fact, that's the place you want to be, because it says that the best of you, you want to be in the best place now. The best of you is he who learned the Quran and then teaches it to the people. That's going to free the people. You're going to realize your power because you're on this path called destiny. Let me get this verse real fast. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam delivered, as the Quran says, a weighty message. It's not a weak message. It's a powerful message. This is a liberating message that's going to move you to experience all types of breakthroughs. Remember last week we talked about all these storms you're going through. Financial storm, health storm, family storm, economic storm. You have all these storms that you're going through. With this Quran and your faith in Allah, you can push through these storms and experience a breakthrough. So we thank Allah, highly glorified as He, for this Quran. He says that He is the one who clearly perfected this way of life called Al-Islam. So we're not going to even focus on the verse I thought I had, but we're going to turn our attention to another verse where Allah talks about power. And in that verse, He clearly says that He created everything and gave it destiny. And this word for destiny is qadr. Destiny, but He gave you power. And as you begin to move on this path towards your destiny, your power begins to unfold. See, as long as you stay up under the influence of Rabbil Alameen, the evolver, your power will unfold. And the more your power unfolds, the more you begin to learn about yourself. And the more you begin to learn about yourself, the more you feel I'm connected to the world. As a servant of Allah, you see yourself connected to the world. That's why I said they stay connected to Him and connected to people. That you see yourself as Abdullah, which is the highest position you can ever take in the world. There's no position higher than seeing yourself as being a slave servant of Allah. And when you see yourself as a slave servant of Allah, you see yourself as one who is working for the renovation and elevation of man. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So, in conclusion, Allah says this in the Quran about the believer. We start talking about power and all these distractions and all these forces working to sidetrack you to make you minimize and weaken your strength. Allah says this: "O you who believe, when you meet a force, be firm and call Allah in remembrance much and often that you may prosper." So this is what Allah wants for you. He wants prosperity for you. That's why when you hear the adhan, you hear Hayya ala al-falah. Come to prosperity. Last week we talked about the verse where Allah said, "And who denies His servants of the good things of the earth?" Who told you you can't have access to what Allah created for you? That's why I say, seek the means of the hereafter, but do not neglect your share of dunya. Don't neglect your share of the material world which was created for you. That's why He gave you power, so you can manipulate His creation. He said that He is the best of those who create. People on the computers, people on their phone, people watching iPads. People got smart television, and you wait for everybody else to create that. When Allah said that you are His Khalifa, He gave you power. If He gave you power, then you're supposed to take the lead. You're not supposed to be waiting for everybody else to find the discovery. If we are servants of Allah, we are supposed to be those who have leadership because we understand what leadership is all about. We understand that we have a close connection to His creation. But yet, we're waiting for others to experience the breakthrough. So He says, as you move in life, when you meet a force, when you meet one of those storms, when you meet some of those distractions, realize that you have power, and your power is in calling Him into remembrance. See, when you call Him into remembrance, He said from that right there, you will experience prosperity. He wants you to have power. He don't want you to be weak in the world. He wants you to have influence in the world. He wants you to be in a position where people come to you for guidance, for the latest technological breakthrough, for the latest scientific breakthrough. They should come to you and I. Why? Because we understand our power comes from the revealed word of Allah, how they glorify His name. Now, if you have the word of Allah, and Allah said He positioned you in the world as Khalifa. He said not just Khalifa in Elizabeth, Khalifa fil ard. You're the Khalifa, you're the ruler, the master in the entire creation. He said He made you the ruler. And if He made you the ruler, He gave you power. And if He gave you power, other people should be looking to you for leadership. I don't care what capacity it's in. Because you have what? Revelation of Allah and the best example, Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why Allah says, in Muhammad, Fi Rasulillah uswatin hasanatain. Inside Muhammad, not outside, not what he wore, but inside you have sensitivities. Inside Muhammad you have intelligence. Inside Muhammad you have the emotional state that allows you to influence the things you do. Inside, not outside. We spend a lot of time on outside of Muhammad the Prophet. Fi Rasulullah. Inside, fi means within. That's why he said his job was what? To perfect character. That's his job. He said, I come not except but to perfect character. And that's why we talked before, you look at the word, the khulaq, the character, and then you look at the word khalaqa, creation. Those words are the same root. Because your character is going to create something in the world. That's why Allah said he's the best of those who create. And if he's the best of those who create, realize that you have creative power within your body. That's your power. And you have to begin to master and dominate things, whatever you engage in. If you're in the science world, you're in the business world, go in there to dominate, because that's the kind of power Allah gives. You don't go in that world to follow. You go in those worlds to lead. I hope you understand what I'm saying to you. That's the power Allah gave you. Whatever world you go in, because he says he's Rabbil Alameen, if he's the evolve of all the system of knowledge, whatever world you engage yourself in, you should enter those worlds to lead, not to follow. And if you do follow, you follow enough to equip yourself to eventually begin to lead. Because Allah said he gave you power. And the verse says, and ask of those who are in hell, what led you into hell? They would say, we were not of those who prayed. So I began the khutbah talking about the verse where Allah said, those who will be established in with power in the land, they'll make the salat, and they'll pay the zakat. See, salat is powerful. It's going to give you the discipline and the focus you need to govern your life. It's going to give you timing. It's going to give you order. It's going to give you structure. It's going to allow you to understand how to follow. Because every leader has to see himself as a follower. You're going to follow. But even though you follow the Imam in Salat, Imam Walter Muhammad taught us one time, that even though you follow the Imam in Salat, there comes a point in the Sunnah you got to lead yourself. So you follow in the congregation, but when you make your Sunnah prayers, you got to lead yourself. You have to manage your own world. So Allah gave you power. Discover your power, tap in your power, and remain connected to Allah and connected to the people. Rabbana atina fi dunya hasanati wa fil akhirati hasanati wa qina adhaban nar. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, ka qamatis salah, ka qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah.